I'm Fiona Mackenzie, divorce coach, divorcee and would-be adventurer. Welcome to my 12 months of adventure. So I am standing, as you can see right behind me is the beginning of the West Highland Way in Milngavie. I'm doing a 4-day adventure because I'm doing it on my bike, and I'm no mountain biker, so this should be quite an experience. And also the forecast for the next 4 days is basically, there's weather warnings, it's torrential rain all the way up, so we're going to be slipping and sliding, probably pretty miserable, but hopefully having a bit of fun as well. I decided to do it over 4 days. Most people do it over 3 if they're cycling. Some more experienced and ambitious people would do it over 1 day, which is just amazing to me. This is Bryan. He is a very experienced mountain biker. So he'll either be flying away in front of me or he'll be impatiently sitting behind me. But yeah, so it's good to have somebody that's got some experience with all this stuff alongside. I have done mountain biking in the past. I tended to avoid it when it was wet, but it's been a long time, been like 10 years or something since I've done any mountain biking at all. So confidence is a bit low. But I'm sure by the end I will be flying down those hills without a care, hopefully. What did you not do? Start of the cycle's pretty straightforward, following country paths and lanes and no real hills to speak of. But it wasn't long before my inexperience as a mountain biker played its part and I had my first fall. Nothing broken except my pride, and maybe my confidence was knocked a little, but it didn't stop us for long, and we pressed on to Tyndrum where we planned to stop for lunch. Had some really nice lunch over there in that cafe behind us called Scoosh, so if you are passing through here then I can highly recommend that. Very reasonable, and they do great little cakes and gluten-free because Bryan's celiac, so yeah, had a really nice time. Now it's been absolutely lashing down while we've been in there, so it's kind of not quite as bad, but we're soaked through anyway, properly muddy. I'll show you this. Yeah, feet are wet. And sadly I fell off my bike about 3 miles outside of Milngavie, and I have staved my middle finger, so it's quite uncomfortable when I'm cycling across all the rugged bits because the vibrations really hurt my hand and I can't really use the brake properly either. So first injury sustained. So we've just cycled up from Tyndrum. We're heading up towards Conic Hill. You cannot see Conic Hill because it's so cloudy and misty. Both of us are pretty soaked through, but it's entertaining. I've already injured my hand. Bryan's strained his groin somewhere, so he's struggling getting up hills. So we're a right pair. I'm a bit freaked out going downhill because it's so wet and slippy, and Bryan's struggling going uphill. So I overtake him on those bits and he overtakes me on the downhills. Only because he's injured, of course. With the weather being so wet, we're feeling a bit miserable. So we stopped for a wee breather to gather our thoughts before labouring our way up the iconic Conic Hill. literally walking up a waterfall. My feet were wet. Thought my feet were wet before. They're just like, I'd some as well wear none. It's like wearing flip-flops or something. But as the old saying goes, what goes up must come down. Today was, well, it was a really good day actually. I was definitely out of my comfort zone because I do not consider myself to be a mountain biker, and there was quite a lot of like the downhill, but I don't mind going uphill on a mountain bike at all. You know, it can be as rough as you like, but going downhill, I just freak out about it. And then, you know, falling today very early in, and I have got a very swollen finger. That's sort of bothering me when I'm going across rough tracks, because the vibration and everything's really hurting and I can't really hit my brake properly. I have a subscriber actually, Will Adventure DJ, and he's a mountain biker, and he has recently, a few months ago, he cracked a few ribs when he was mountain biking, and you know, I'm nowhere near as daring as he is, but yeah, still managed to damage myself. We're gonna go from Rowerdennan to up to Tyndrum tomorrow. I think the weather's pretty much the same, unfortunately, very wet and drizzly, but yeah, just gonna get the head down tonight because pretty tired now. And if this is only day one, got another 3 days to go. So, but yeah, really enjoyed it, and I think even just in the short space of today, my mountain biking, I feel a bit more confident with certain things. Maybe not quite to what I was before, but you know, certainly getting there. So we're ready for the off start of day 2. As you can see, it's still raining, so we may have another kind of wet day ahead of us today. My hand is even more swollen today, so we're going to see how that goes. And also Bryan hurt his hip yesterday, so he's struggling a little bit too. But we're not going to let it put us off quite yet. So we're about 7 or 8 miles away from Rowerdennan now. It's been a pretty... We took the high track. There's 2 tracks that you can take. There's one that goes along beside the lock at first, and there's another one that sort of diverts past that. It goes a bit higher, but it's not as gnarly, so it's more rideable. I don't think the other route is rideable at all, but that kind of diversion lasts maybe a couple of miles, and then we're back onto sort of the same sort of gnarly route, so we're having to push the bikes a lot here, which isn't ideal, but it's really beautiful and it's a gorgeous calm day and it's not even raining that much, so not much to complain about really. As we progress along, however, it becomes more and more difficult for me to get on my bike, and I can feel myself tiring from all the pushing and carrying. Evidently, I'm not the only one who's attempted this route and felt this way. We've been struggling along the route from Inversnaid to Inverarnon along Loch Lomond, and it is not made for cyclists at all, and certainly not ones that aren't experienced at mountain biking. It is very, very gnarly. I've hardly been on the bike at all, and I'm feeling like I'm really struggling kind of mentally a little bit, like well, not to keep going because you don't have a choice, we have to keep going, but just trying to keep the mental attitude positive, I think is quite difficult at the moment because it started raining again as well, so you're kind of sweating underneath the waterproof clothing because it's quite warm. It's about 17 degrees today, so yeah, it's quite tough for anybody that's thinking about doing this. It might be easier if the weather was better, I don't know. It's very slippery, there's a lot of carrying your bike up across rocks and things like that. It might be easier if it wasn't quite so wet and slippy, but because it's so wet, you just, for me anyway, I can't get on my bike at all. So yes, I'm a bit despondent. We're running a bit later than we planned as well. We haven't had lunch yet. I don't know, it must be about 2 o'clock by now. So we're about still got about another 3 or 4 miles of this to go before we reach Inverarnon. So yes, but it's a little bit low right now, but gotta keep on. Back at the hotel now. It's actually the next day. We really struggled with that section between Inversnaid and Inverarnon. and Benglass campsite. If I'm in all honesty, I kind of lost the will to live at that point, which is why I didn't really do any filming afterwards. I was feeling so exhausted lifting my bike. You've got basically 7 miles, a 7-mile section there. I mean, I've recorded some of the clips of what you had to sort of endure there, but it was basically 7 miles of that. So it was really heavy going. There was no, or very, very little cycling involved. I would get onto my bike and you'd be able to go for maybe 10 or 20 meters. And then you'd either have one of those big sort of drainage channels, which I would have to sort of step off to get over, because one, I don't have mountain bike skills really, but two, it's a hardtail bike I've got, so rather than a full suspension, so I wouldn't be able to like hop over something like that anyway, I don't think. But yeah, so that was the kind of level of challenge that we had on that. So sort of lost the will to live. It took us a lot longer than we planned. By the time we got to Benglass campsite, it was about 4 o'clock at that point. So we didn't even stop for any food or anything. We just grabbed some more water because we ran out of water as well along the way. So for the last sort of hour and a half of that section, didn't have any water. So yeah, we just sort of trooped on, and there's 11 miles between Inverarnon and Tyndrum, and so because it was like 4 o'clock, we were worried that we would be cycling in the dark, so we actually cycled that section along the road, which was a lot quicker, and we got here to Tyndrum for about 6 o'clock last night, or yeah, about 6 o'clock. So yeah, all in, I would say that part of this cycle is not for cyclists at all. You basically are not able to cycle on there unless, I mean, I don't know, somebody who's maybe technically skilled mountain biker, but I mean, Bryan is like that. But even he was struggling. He would definitely have done it quicker if he hadn't been with me, but yeah, he was struggling a bit as well. So by the time we got here, we were just absolutely shattered. And I couldn't even face recording a video last night because I was just, I could hardly move basically. I was so sore. So yeah, definitely for those that are thinking about doing this, there is an alternative where you can get the boat across to the A82 and cycle up the road there to Inverarnon. If I was to do this again, I would probably choose that option myself. I think the owner of this hotel that we're staying in, he says that there are loads of people that attempt to cycle that section and they're phoning up for taxis because they've really had such a terrible time on it. He said that, I think he said that somebody had managed to cycle the whole West Highland Way in something like 9 hours or something crazy like that. And since then people assume, oh, it must be a cyclable route. But that is very, very physically challenging, that section. But yeah, on to part 2, and we'll see you in the next video. Join us next time for days 3 and 4 of our West Highland Way cycling adventure, where there is yet more pushing our bikes uphill, more falling over, more beautiful scenery, and we also get up close and personal with some of the locals. Until the next adventure.